Live from Cambourne in Cambridgeshire, the headlines tonight. Good evening. At 12:30 today, the Chancellor of the Exchequer rose to his feet and proceeded to change the landscape of our public services. All of us in this region will be affected by the measures designed to tackle Britain's record deficit. On Look East tonight, what it means for you. With the information we have so far, we'll be getting reaction from experts as well as ordinary people. Let's begin with the news that many business leaders and commuters really didn't want to hear, that the £1.4 billion upgrade of the A14 is not going ahead. We're just 5 miles from the carriageway here, but the implications of this decision will be felt way beyond here.
It suffers from atrocious congestion and an appalling accident record. And now a £1 billion scheme to upgrade the A14 between Cambridge and Huntingdon lies in tatters.
Business will find it totally unacceptable that we haven't got the right infrastructure in place. So if we don't do anything for the next 5 years, it could be another 20 years before anything happens.
But the government insists it can't justify the huge cost, despite the economic advantages improvements would bring.
It may be that rail has a role to play. It may be that private capital, perhaps with tolled sections of road, could have a role to play. So we're going to reopen that equation, but unfortunately we can't proceed with a £1 billion publicly funded dual carriageway road scheme.
But this afternoon, MPs who fought for the upgrading of the A11 were celebrating. After decades of campaigning, the final single carriageway stretch between Barton Mills and Thetford will be dualled at a cost of £134 million. This warehousing and logistics business and many others stand to benefit.
As a company, we have 9 sites along the A11. We're employing over 100 people, and it is certainly going to help in our future. It's going to help us attract new customers to the area, as well as, the people in Norfolk. It's going to help just getting in and out of Norfolk easier, commuting, businesses relocating to Norfolk. So there's so many benefits.
It'll follow the same line pretty much to this small kink here.
The new dual carriageway will run through the heart of the Elvedon estate. It's been talked about since the 1960s.
Operationally, as far as the estate's concerned, it's a nightmare just to get across. And not only that, we've lost people who are close to us in road traffic accidents. We've seen some horrendous accidents over the years.
Back on the A14, the only crumb of comfort is that the government says it will try to find alternative ways to improve the road. Richard Daniel, BBC Look East.
Well, more reaction to that roads announcement later. Let's hear now from our BBC radio colleagues, county by county, about how today's spending review went down where you are.
Well, the big news here in Suffolk is that the A11 at Elvedon will be dual. That's been a bottleneck for as long as I can remember. It'll be great news for business leaders and local people alike. And someone who'll be especially pleased is the former West Suffolk MP, Richard Spring, who campaigned for years and years on this particular issue. One downer, really, for the A14 is that it won't be improved at Cambridge. I know the Port of Felixstowe here in Suffolk were hoping that would be the case to improve links to that very important port.
The most interesting aspect for Essex was tucked away in the spending review documents. Here it reveals the government plans to increase the charges at the Dartford crossing, subject to a public consultation. At the moment, it costs £1.50 to drive a car across the bridge or through the tunnel during the day. The plan is to put that up to £2 next year and £2.50 the year after. Crucially, though, this confirms the government plans to keep the crossing in public ownership for the time being.
Here in Norfolk, the great news for us is the dualling of the final single carriageway stretch of the A11, something that local businesses have been campaigning for years. When the Chancellor made the announcement, a huge cheer went up in the House of Commons and in many parts of Norfolk too. We've been speaking to some people in Thetford today where the A11 goes through, and they say it will be great for industry. They're also already talking about rising house prices. There's going to be more support for wind energy and offshore energy, which for Norfolk is great. We have a port at Great Yarmouth, the new outer harbour. That will get more investment, and Norfolk's wind industry is going from strength to strength.
Right, let's go to Westminster now and speak to our political correspondent, Andrew Sinclair. Andrew, what sort of impact do you think today's announcements will have on our region?
Well, as we've just heard, there have been quite a few positive announcements today. But make no mistake, Susie, this is a very severe spending review and it will affect a lot of people and cause a lot of pain. Many people will receive fewer benefits after this. Many people will lose their jobs. Indeed, one report last week estimated that 78,000 jobs will be lost in the eastern region over the next 4 years. I think our councils will probably be worst affected. Their grant from central government is going to be cut by 28% over the next 4 years. Now, that's not as bad as the worst-case scenario which they were working to, but it does mean that they will have to cut services and shed jobs. Exactly where the axe will fall will emerge over the next few months.
Andrew, we've heard a lot about roads. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, the campaign to dual the A11, as Richard was saying, has been going on for the last 50 years. The fact that it's happened now is partly because the business community and MPs successfully argued the economic case for doing this. I think it also played a large part that all of Norfolk and Suffolk's MPs are now in the government and had easy access to ministers. And I'll tell you that at the Conservative conference the other week, there was an enormous lobbying campaign in favour of the A11. So that gets the go-ahead. The A14 is going to have to wait longer, but it was interesting. Philip Hammond, the Transport Secretary, told me today he will not walk away from the problem. He still wants to do something to help ease the problem of congestion around Cambridge.
Andrew, thank you. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about where we are. This is South Cambridgeshire Hall, the home of South Cambridgeshire District Council. It's in the new town of Cambourne. Excuse me. Apart from anything else, this is one of the best-off districts in the whole region. More than 77,000 people work here. Of those, almost 1 in 5 are employed in the public sector. Down the road, in Cambridge itself, there's a bigger workforce, 88,000, and more than 4 out of 10 people work in the public sector, mainly at the university and at Addenbrooke's Hospital. Unemployment here is low, just 2% in the county and only 1.3% here in South Cambs. Watching the Chancellor's speech just round the corner from here was the Littledyke family. So what did they make of it and how will they be affected?
Hello, my name's Belinda and this is my husband Paul and we own the local bike shop in Cambourne. We've been watching the spending review. I'm not happy that the A14 has been scrapped, but I'm very happy to see that the school budgets have been protective. I'm hoping the banks will start to lend to small businesses like ourselves so that we can then start helping the public sector when they start to do all their cuts. I don't know the ins and outs yet, but what I am very concerned of is the winter months of salting the roads, because last year they cut back a lot on that. So if they've got to save, they're going to obviously, well, in my opinion, they're going to try and save back on gritting all the roads in Cambourne. Cambourne is out on its limb. I think certain services are really good, but we are a growing town, so it's going to take time for us to have all the facilities that we actually need here. I'm hoping that with more infrastructure and more people that are coming into Cambourne, we'll generate more money, and hopefully South Cambs will be able to invest a bit more into Cambourne. A lot of people live in Cambourne work in London, so yes, I am worried about a double recession dip, but I'm hoping people won't talk themselves into that. If we keep on spending, hopefully we'll keep ourselves out of recession as we're out of it now. I believe, anyway.
Let's talk to Ray Manning, who is the leader of South Cambs Council. I mean, the councils have taken a big hit today, haven't they?
Yes, we've lost 28%, which is about what we expected. It's about what we were working on. We actually anticipated 30%, and we've been working our budget predictions on that figure.
The A14, I know, is a blow for you here.
It's a big blow because not only is it key to our economic prosperity and we are the fastest growing region in the country, but also we're supposed to be building a new town at Northstowe, and that actually is dependent on the upgrade of the A14. And I don't see how Northstowe can come on stream properly. There's supposed to be 9,000 houses there, and a condition was that the A14 would be upgraded.
So all up in the air now. Mr. Manning, thank you very much for joining us. Coming up next, a full roundup of the day's other news. Then later on, our invited panel of experts tell us how they think our region will be affected by today's measures. Plus, more live reaction from Westminster.